Ottawa, that's not too far. You're only like about an hour and a half.
I know, we miss it. We love driving. You're in Montreal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we love driving to
I
Montreal. We've recently
love
discovered
Montreal.
the smoked meat place across from Schwartz's, so we go there now whenever we go to
Oh,
town.
that's called the Main.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's it.
Yeah, that's it. No
Yeah.
lines.
Better
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. And it's probably cheaper too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Cool. Well, it was nice meeting you. First
Yeah.
of all, um, just before I got on, I was eating my salad for lunch, and I'm doing some research on the word paragon. It's like, what the heck is paragon? So I found out that it has this old Italian meaning of a touchstone.
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah.
A touchstone where you would like judge the purity of gold or silver by rubbing against it and seeing if it was real or not.
Exactly.
Is that part of what you guys do? Is like you become a touchstone of issues around the world?
I think we do now after you
Yeah,
told
yeah.
us this.
That sounds great. He's Italian, so yeah.
No, I think it's yeah. When we came up with that word, we actually spent a lot of time because we were kind of trying to look for a word that kind of meant, perfection and searching for perfection. And exactly like you say, that's kind of the word that just kind of fit. And I like how the gemstones and stuff in the past, I did come across that, but I never put too much thought into it. But that's definitely the idea.
Yeah. So you're refining your sound as you go along.
Yes, without a doubt.
Definitely.
Without a doubt.
Perfect. Both of you met on a sort of a matchmaking website for bands called, just have my notes here, Band Mix.
Band mix, yeah.
Yeah.
So it was an ideal match, but what are some of the less ideal matches that you found on there?
Oh my goodness, where do we begin? Can I tell my stories
Yeah,
first?
sure. Go.
So
for it.
I met a few people. One of them was just this person that said, she was a jazz musician and a funk musician, and she wanted a guitar player. So her and this person came over to my house, and they didn't have any songs. They didn't know how to play guitar. They didn't know anything, and I think they just expected me to write their music for them, and this person would just sing. It was one of the most bizarre experiences I've ever had because one of the person that was with her was like, I'm the songwriter. I'm like, oh, so you write the lyrics? No, I'm the songwriter. Oh, so you write the music? No, I write the song.
Do you play the instruments?
You
No.
no. And
No,
like, so
but I do play rock band.
Yeah, exactly. So that was one of them. And then another one I did was met with these guys that like to, drink lots of beer and play country music with their shirts off, which I found a little bit odd. It wasn't really my
It was
style.
way out in the country. You had to drive really far.
And Michelle actually met with these same people before
I didn't meet them. They just contact me online like, we're starting to get really big. Now's the time to jump on board. We've got a show coming up. And I was like, eh. And then I saw their music video they released, and it was like hired girls with like, scantily clad, and they were all in like white beaters. And I was like, no.
Not really our vibe.
No.
Yeah, not the right philosophy of life that you're looking for.
Definitely.
No.
Well, I'm glad it worked out, and the music sounds great. It's really fun. Definitely detecting a lot of ingredients that went into that mix. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later, but maybe we'll kind of get to the root of that. As going back to your childhood, was there a time where music went from something that you just heard to something that you felt? Do you remember that time where it kind of shifted and it just had more meaning for you? Was it a song or?
I hate to say it now. For me, I know exactly mine. There was a few situations. The first time I heard the song "Thriller" by Michael Jackson, it blew my mind. The idea of just more cinematic style of music, and I think because when I was growing, I'm from Cape Breton, and all I heard was fiddle music and Rita McNeil and stuff like that, and we weren't really exposed to it. And for me, Michael Jackson, oddly enough, was the person that got me into hip hop. And I just kind of progressed to that. And I think when I first started listening to hip hop, for me, it made music feel real. And it just kind of blew my mind. And that's when I kind of got into the rabbit hole of wanting to be a musician. Probably the first time I heard Tribe Called Quest, to be totally honest, was what did it for me.
For me, it was not necessarily a band. So I grew up like going to church, twice every Sunday, and my mom would sing and all that. And so I just started singing all the time, and my mom noticed I had kind of an ear for it, and she got me a piano, or actually no, first we had an organ. We had an organ in the house, and then I would hear these little melodies from church, and then I'd figure them out on the organ, and I'd play them for her. She's like, oh crap, this girl knows what she's doing. And so eventually I got piano lessons. We got a piano, and I did a lot of singing, and I always was like really embarrassed of myself because whenever my mom would take photos of me singing, I looked so like into it.
Okay.
Because I always put everything into my music. Like it's my way of expressing myself. So now I've just embraced it. And if I look bad in a photo, whatever.
Yeah, it takes a lot of courage just to put yourself out there. And I think even more courage to put yourself out there with all the little faults and that we all have, none of us are perfect. But I think that's what makes us all relatable too. The people that try to be too perfect or too photoshopped, they're just not relatable. Like,
I agree. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
They're almost like a cartoon. They don't really exist in real life.
I find a lot of mainstream pop music is like that right now. You're looking at a Instagram image. You're looking at an online image that's just created to be so perfect and to perfectly get across a brand. And it starts to become, to me, just really, it's so real, it's fake. It's so obvious. It's just manufactured.
Yeah.
What was your first concert? Do you remember that?
Yeah. In my entire life, I remember, I have a photo of it, is me playing the song Summertime Blues by Eddie Cochran when I would have been like 9 years old. When I was first learning how to play guitar, I sang and played poorly the song Summertime Blues by Eddie Cochran. I was a big fan of like 50s music when I was a little kid for some reason. I think I was obsessed with the movie La Bamba for some reason.
Okay.
My first concert?
Yeah.
Either attending or playing. I mean, just get back to those influences. What is behind that repertoire of yours?
What would be my like highlight of things I've seen?
A lot of yours is like musical theater and...
Yeah. So for me, it would have been like going to see Les Miserables in Toronto. Like that was when I got to go do that. Like my high school went, we got to go on the bus and we got to watch that. And I was obsessed then with that musical for a long time. And then I was fortunate enough to go to a high school for a semester because they were the first high school in Canada to put on Les Miserables in a high school setting. And so I auditioned and I got the lead role of Fantine, and it was like super fun. I love it still. So I don't know.
Yeah, I
drifted far.
Totally. And for me, like I can think of all the distinct periods in my life that an artist that just kind of took over, because I'm one of these people that when I find a band I like, I listen to everything by them over and over. So I went through, The Cure, Jane's Addiction, Pink Floyd, Tribe Called Quest, the Raveonettes, and then like Peter Green, Fleetwood Mac blues stuff, Howlin' Wolf. So I think that's my biggest influences, those bands like that. And I would spend a year just obsessed and listening to them. Like I think the best concert I ever seen was The Cure. I seen The Cure in New York City in this small theater, which was unbelievable.
I definitely sensed the Cure's guitar. The old Cure, not the one that kind of became more popular, but the deep cuts.
And that's the stuff I like, is those early albums. Definitely. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned the Raveonettes. It's a good intro to your new EP, Lies Between Us, which is coming out on September 13th. Yeah. So you got to collaborate with Sunrose Wagner of the Raveonettes.
Yeah.
Just because you asked on a tweet, like, why don't we collaborate? It kind of reminds me of a TED Talk by Amanda Palmer that's about the art of asking.
Yeah.
So what is the benefit of putting yourself out there and asking for help?
Well, you have nothing to lose, It's the worst thing they can do is not answer or say no. And you're no further behind or further ahead if they do. At least you try. I just said, hey, I hear he's a nice guy. I'll just write him and see. And he wrote back. It was basically as simple as that. I like to tell all bands now, it doesn't hurt to ask for whatever you need. And I think a lot of indie bands these days are a little frightened to ask for help. And, we all want to do the DIY thing, but
you got to help each other.
You got to help each other. And you just you learn so much when you work these with other people. So
maybe we'll start a new tag, DIT.
Yes, exactly.
Do it together.
Do it together.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that. I really do.
.com.
Yeah.
A lot of the songs that you guys did, I believe, are from the both of you jamming together. And like, just like your producer was a really tight mesh, like it seemed to just flow naturally. I think it's the same thing with you guys. The way you met, things just naturally evolved. Things just go together. What is the things that you learned about playing together? Do you have different ways to introduce new music, or do you guys just go in there with blank slates?
I don't know. What do you think? I have my opinion, but
well, we've kind of like we know how we write songs together now. Like we've kind of we've done it enough that we have a certain way. Like usually it will be Jamie will have like he does more of the rhythm elements and like coming up with the chord progression, and I'll do a lot of the melodies, and we just like depends who's coming in first, and I don't know, it just.
Michelle's very good at coming up with melodies on the spot.
Yeah,
and
I like to be very spontaneous.
I'd say 70% of the time, she either has a melody or I have a chord progression, and I say, listen to this. And then she right away just starts singing something. We'll often just record a really quick, crappy demo, and then we go back and listen to it and then say, okay, well, we could have went here, and we just start adding changes at that point. Because I think for us, we just like to get a rough idea of a song. Once we get an idea, we record it. Like no matter how good or how bad it is, we just do it, because then we have like, 100 of these little ideas that we listen to, and sometimes they fit together like a puzzle. Once in a while we like to experiment, so we'll record a song that's it's really happy in a major key, like the song on the EP, I Waited, which is probably the darkest song. That was actually, we have a recording of that's this really happy folk song. And so it's incredible. We still have it.
Yeah, we wrote it on the front porch.
And so we played it for Soon, and we're like, we love the melody, but we don't like the chords. It's not us. And he's like, well, let's work on it. And so we just altered all the chords, made it more dark. It's the exact same melody.
Exact same lyrics.
Exact same lyrics. And so it's amazing when you hear that. But
it's like a different perspective.
Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. And it changed the song so much. So we like doing that. We like just recording. We record a song, the melody comes out, then we trash the music and start from scratch just with that melody, and it's really fun to do.
That when I was researching you guys, looking up a few of the past interviews, that stood out to me. The fact that you said write like badly or record badly quickly.
Yeah,
I heard the same thing about writing. Write quickly and badly, and don't try to autocorrect just because it lets the flow get out.
Yeah.
And if you stop and try to perfect everything, you cut your creativity off.
Yeah,
100%.
Absolutely. Like if I try to write a lyric to a song and I'm like, thinking for a long time, it's not worth it. But like, when I hear Jamie playing, like sometimes I can't keep up with how fast I'm writing the lyrics. So I'm just like scribbling so fast with my hand, and those are the ones that stick.
Most of the songs in the album were written the day of or the night before.
Yeah.
And even you were given a task of listening to the Ramones and before.
Yeah.
I think it's Save Me, right?
That's right. Yeah. Soon gave us a homework. We had to listen to the Ramones and write a song.
Yeah, it was super fun.
Yeah.
And that song deals with control. In the video, you have a bunch of people wearing masks. What do the masks represent?
I'll let you answer all this stuff. It's a good question. So we worked with this group in Ottawa to make the video. We provided a little bit of creative input, but I think as artists, we love working with other artists and giving them a little bit of free rein to interpret it their own way. So I think when they interpreted the song, it had to do, I think, with hiding from our past. And, there's kids in the video that had masks on. There's partners that had masks on. And I think it's about not looking at your past. And I think the song deals with that too, is ignoring the past, whether it's positive or negative, and not really dealing with these things.
Yeah, not being able to like learn from it, and that it smacks you in the face, and it's like, oh, look, it's happened again, but you didn't learn from it, right? So,
and like you said, it does get passed on to our children.
Exactly.
Whatever we choose to ignore, they'll eventually ignore as well.
Yeah. And I think a part of the video, the whole idea of that weird glowing orb, is in the end, the woman decides that she's not going to pass this on anymore. She's not going to give this to the children, and she's going to make a change, is the idea.
Break the cycle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you were talking a little bit about social media. I think that in that same way, social media are people hiding behind masks. You're talking about having that perfect life, and you're not bringing a true representation of who you are. And I think that's hurting society in the
Absolutely.
Short term and long term is going to be even worse.
I agree. I don't think it's good for the brain, especially kids and teenagers these days, for anybody.
Yeah, it's very odd. Like for me, I last year I worked in a grade 8 history class as a teacher, and you see the kids interacting with their phones and like they just sit in hallways like taking pictures of themselves till they get the right picture for like a half hour, or you go on a walk and you see that this, rather than enjoying the experience, they're like, how can I get this best photo of this experience to make it look like I'm enjoying myself?
Mm-hmm.
So they're all doing it. Like I don't know.
Yeah, it's there's going to be some point where we're going to have to go back to authenticity and just being yourself. And
yes.
And I think when I was listening to the songs that you've created, I sensed, yes, you're paying homage to certain aspects of the past, but you're also creating something new, and it feels like it's you guys.
Yeah.
We appreciate that, because that's what we wanted. We definitely hold our influences close to our hearts and our fingers and our voices, but at the same time, I think we put them together in a very unique way. That's, like you say, it's us. You can tell once you start hearing it.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to go to you, Jay, for a second.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that you went from being a surgeon to going all in on music.
Yeah, it's interesting.
So
I still work, so it's not like I gave it up 100%, but I certainly had to scale back a little bit, because I was a musician before I went into medicine. Mm-hmm. I was actually on tour with a band from Halifax, and I just said, you know what, I think I'll write my MCAT. And then I taught myself organic chemistry on the tour, and then I wrote it and passed. And I'm like, well, I guess I should apply. And I applied and got in. And so it was basically as simple as that. And I said, I guess I have to go. I got in.
So there's a quote that from Shakespeare that I heard recently that I thought I'd share with you and see how it applies to this specific situation. It's the meaning of life is to find your gift.
Yeah.
And the purpose of life is to give it away. That's
awesome. That's beautiful.
So what do you think your gift is? I mean, you have medicine and then you have music. Which you think?
I think for me, my gift is focus.
Absolutely.
I'm an incredibly focused person. Like when I set my mind to do something, it's not to sound arrogant, but I set my goal and what I define as success. And I'm a realist in the sense I know what success is, what I want, and it's rare I don't achieve that. So my goal in music isn't to be, Britney Spears or Justin Timberlake. I just want to make good music. Mm-hmm. And so I'm achieving that. And so I think I will focus so hard for that.
I'm just picturing you in a Britney Spears outfit. It's a little freaky right now.
I did that in the past. It didn't work.
His legs are too muscly.
That was one of my unfocused periods. But, and I guess for me it's focus, right? I can focus and I can do anything. I have a skill at learning new things. And I think that's just what I do. But I think it's oddly enough, there's a part of my mind which also helps in medicine is the creativity. I'm very good at kind of ignoring the noise and focusing on the creative aspect of things and having a really open mind. So I know that's a few things, but I think that's my best answer.
Well, when you're a surgeon, isn't there many things happening all at once? I mean, you've got to monitor the patient's life signs. You've got blood coming out of places you're probably not expecting. You've got all kinds of things. You have to coordinate a lot of things. It must take a lot of focus. I'm sure in music there's a lot of the same things. You might be playing a gig and you have different things you have to focus on at different times. And I think you guys are you don't have a full band when you record, when you play live, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
So he's literally hyper-focused. He's turning one thing on while turning another thing off. Like he's doing 5 things at once at any given time. And I'm like, okay, I'm just playing keyboard and singing. So this is all good. But I think you like that.
I love it. I love the challenge. It's amazing.
How many things can I do at once?
And I think you do live loops as well, too, like samples.
Yep, we do samples. We use a drum machine, which I control with my feet and stuff like that, and the guitar and a synthesizer. So we do a lot. We make a lot of noise for when we're just even the two of us. We're playing today at 4, just the two of us. Sometimes we'll have a bass player join us for shows.
Okay. I saw that in one or two of the videos. There was a third person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's
exactly.
a third.
He just looks cooler than us, so we let that in the video.
What?
I know. Except you. He looks cooler than me. He wears those glasses and stuff.
Yeah, I think the glasses.
So what's your higher purpose, Michelle? What's your gift to the world?
I know the answer.
Really?
Yeah. It's her honesty.
Oh gosh. Yeah, but it also kicks me in the arse sometimes.
Yeah. It is.
I have to be like true to myself and true to what I'm doing. Like I don't know. I guess I just spent so long of my life like totally faking it and questioning so many things, and when I finally got over that hump, then I was like, no, I have to be, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. I think you can probably hear it in the lyrics of some of the songs. Like, you can feel it, right? The emotion and the honesty, that's what's happening. And I think both me and Soon was blown away by Michelle's ability to kind of convey emotion with a voice, and he was just blown away. And I still am every time. Yeah.
And you're tackling issues that are not necessarily pop. Like you're talking depression, you're talking
domestic abuse.
You're also the way people are being treated, racism, and so is that part of it? Is just being true to that message too?
Yeah, 100%. I think we wanted it to be very honest. I think we took a little of the influence by Soon and the Raveonettes. A lot of their songs have this happy, jangly feel, and then you're like, wow, this song is about rape. And,
yeah.
And I think that's why we got along so well, because we have a little, I guess we have a little touch of, sarcasm and a touch of just this kind of playfulness that we want to get this, we wanted just a touch of sarcasm, like just a little bit of it in there. I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know.
I know it sounds cheesy, but like literally music saved me, right? Like if I hadn't had that to fall back on and to properly express my emotion, I think I don't know, I would have needed a lot more money for like really good psychiatrists or something.
So it helped you not implode within yourself.
Yeah. So I actually remember my sister talking to me, and she would talk about how she was so jealous that I had this outlet to express myself, because she noticed early on too that I was able to, put all of the bad stuff into music, and not everyone has that ability to kind of, unload, right? Mm-hmm. So I consider myself very lucky that I can. So.
And I think even in one of the songs that you talk about being able to go in and help others now from the life lessons that you've learned.
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel like that's, you need to do that, right? I can't just pretend like everything's happy and wonderful all the time, and just, it's not for everyone. And I don't know. It's just the idea that when you're in something terrible, you kind of feel like you're the only one. And so people have that message knowing that there's other people thinking of them at that time. It's...
I truly believe that, medicine saves lives, being a surgeon, obviously, but also music, I believe, saves lives as well. I mean, it's taken a few lives too. It's some people have a hard time. They hide the pain, but I think when you're able to address the pain, I think is something that when you can tap into that or help other people maybe say what they want to express in ways that they couldn't maybe say it, I think that could save lives as well.
Yeah, 100%. I'm sure, like a band like The Cure, they probably saved millions of lives, thousands of lives, just knowing someone else goes through this stuff.
Yeah.
So Paragon Cause saves lives.
Yeah. In more ways than one. That's our new brand.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it was great talking with you. Are you guys planning to come to Montreal anytime soon?
We've been working on it. It's every time I contact a venue there, they end up closing down within like 6 months. So we actually had a show booked, and the venue closed down. There's like a few of them that sound like classic, really nice venues, and just have disappeared. So we're working on it right now for the fall. We're trying to book a little Ontario, Quebec tour just with this EP and stuff like that.
Okay, if I think of any band that will match your sound,
send us an email. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I'll put you together. I know there's a few places that are kind of fun for smaller, intimate shows.
Yeah.
And they keep going. Like there's one that's coming up. Patros e Vice or something is one. It's tiny, but it's kind of fun place. Casa de Popolo. Again, I don't know where they come up with these names, but it there seems to keep going on and on. So there are these little places where you can find that are kind of cool to play. And
by all means, we appreciate if you can forward us any names. It's helpful for us because we've been looking. We haven't been to Montreal yet, oddly enough.
Well, to play,
yeah.
I love Montreal.
Yeah. Well, we'll buy you a beer when you or tea or whatever the heck you want when you come over.
Beer, wine.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed the album. I mean, like you noticed, it's pretty different. It's unique, but we're really excited to let people hear it. Can't wait.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for your time, and can't wait to see you.
Yeah, see you later. We'll be in touch.
All right. Cheers.
Bye.